Okay, today we're going to work on learning how to balance chemical equations. Now this is an equation. I've got mercury and oxygen, and I'm going to create mercury oxide. Anytime you have a metal, you will have just the element. When you have one of the 7 diatomics, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and then the halogens, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine, they will end up being a diatomic molecule, and you write it with the little 2 subscript. Now, anytime you have an equation, you cannot change the subscripts. The only thing we can do is put coefficients in the front to make sure we have the same number of each element for the total number of atoms following the law of conservation of mass. To do this, what we're going to do is identify how many atoms we have of each element on each side of the equation. If you recall, the left side is the reactants, the right side is the products. So I'm going to write down what my elements are. I've got mercury, and because I have just the symbol, I have one of them. I have oxygen, and because of the subscript 2, I have 2 of them. On my product side, I'm going to do the same thing, and I always put my symbols across from each other because it's easier to balance. Because HGO is only one of each, I'm going to put a 1 for the mercury and a 1 for the oxygen. And when you look at the numbers, the mercury are balanced, but the oxygen are not. So what I need to do is in front of the compound, I put a number. That's called a coefficient. Now, this coefficient multiplies against everything within the compound. So 2 times Hg changes that to a 2, and 2 times O changes it to mean 2 oxygens. So now my oxygens are balanced, but I have to go back to my reactant side to balance my mercury. To do that, I will put a 2 in front of the Hg, changing that to a 2. This coefficient only goes with this one element. Here, on the product side, it went with both elements because it's the whole compound. All right, let's try another one. If I do, let me find a good one. I'm going to do number 3 on your balancing chemical equations worksheet because I like this one. That's a hint. C2H2, and then I have O2, and we're going to create out of this ethane and oxygen 4 carbon dioxide. So I'm giving you a clue that there's 4 carbons. All right, that should help you on the other side. And we're going to create water. Now, the first thing I need to do always is write down how many I have of each. So I have carbon, I have hydrogen, and I have oxygen. There's a subscript, so that means there's 2. There's 2 hydrogens, and there's 2 oxygens. On my other side, I have carbon, and even though they're in a different order, I'm still going to write my elements in the same order. The 4 times the C tells me there's 4 carbons. The 4 times the 2 for the oxygen tells me there's 8 oxygens, plus 1 with the water gives me a total of 9 oxygens, and then I have 2 hydrogens. Well, there's a lot to fix here. Now, the first thing I want to do is go back and figure out using my clue. I was given the clue of the 4 in front of the CO2. So to get 4 carbons on the reactant side, let's try a 2 in front. Now I'm going to multiply the 2 times the 2 for the carbon to give me 4. The 2 times the 2 for the hydrogen to give me 4 of those. Now my hydrogens are out of whack, so I need to go back to the product side and balance my hydrogens. To do that, I'll put a 2 in front of the H2O. That gives me 2 times 2, which balances my hydrogens. And now my product has more oxygen. So 2 times O gives me 2 oxygens, plus my original 4 times 2, which is 8. 8 plus 2 changes it to 10 oxygens. So in front of my O2, the only thing I have not changed, I have to use some number that's going to take X times 2 equals 10. And in my easy math, I know that's 5. 5 times 2 gives me 10. Now I can look across and see that there's a 4 and a 4, a 4 and a 4, a 10 and a 10, and my numbers are balanced. The only thing I did was add coefficients where needed to balance. Now, on the back side of this worksheet, or the second side because it's all on the computer for you, we have a few more things to work on. So the first part for 15 through 20, you have to fill in what is missing to make that a balanced equation. So for number 15, we have a 2, and then something, and I know it has chlorine, and chlorine is a diatomic, and then it makes 2 KCl. Well, my 2 Cl's is there. What is missing is the letter K for potassium. So you need to fill in whatever is missing. For number 21, 22, and 23, you're going to tell me the total number of atoms. So if I have Pb, that's lead, and I have NO3, and I have 2 of those, that's going to tell me I have 1 atom of lead. You can do the symbols, but I want the words written out. 2 times N gives me 2 atoms of nitrogen, and 2 times 3 gives me 6 atoms, that's an M, of oxygen. Do that for the others. On 24 through 27, you're going to do the same thing we did earlier this week. You're going to do the formula mass. So if I take acetic acid, HC2, H3O2, I need to add up my total number of atoms and multiply them by their atomic mass for each element. So I have a total of 4 hydrogens, so H equals 4 times 1, C equals 2 times 12, and O equals 2 times 16. 24 plus 32 plus 4 equals 60 AMU. Double check my math, make sure I didn't make a mistake, but you can check that one out. Then the last thing is, in your own words, tell me what that law of conservation of mass is. All right, this assignment is due at 11:59 p.m. tonight. If you have questions, see me during office hours.